Ron, I wonder if you could take us through the weekend and how things unfolded. Did you know right away after the game that you were going to make a change, and was it a deal where if you're going to make a change, might as well just do it now?
Well, once the game finished, I went through a huge thought process, trying to kind of go through my mind, what just transpired, what did it mean going forward for the program. And as I considered it and continued to talk about it, the realization that, if there is an opportunity to do it now, let's do it now. That way we can make the break. I talked with several people about this and decided to sleep on it. I woke up in the morning about 5 and started thinking some more, and then called a couple other people I had to talk with. I called the chancellor and told him I felt that now was the opportunity for us to move forward, and to let Justin go and start planning for our future.
Can you share anything about your conversation with Justin?
It was very professional. I mean, the guy is a class act, a character man. The guy's done a lot for this program. Very grateful for him, for him getting us to where we are. I mean, consecutive bowl games year after year has been a very good trend for us. The hard part is obviously we would love to see a lot more success in terms of the wins and losses. But for the things that he did do and did help us, that was outstanding.
Way everything happened, what are the characteristics or the factors that factored into the decision to let go of Coach Wilcox? And then what are those factors that you're looking for in bringing in a new coach for this next team? Well,
I'll say this, in looking the last couple of seasons, looking at where we ended up and then seeing where we are again, we got to a certain level. Losing the big game, really got me thinking more so than I really, had anticipated. I was very optimistic about our opportunity to win that game and what it would mean for us going forward as a program. And unfortunately, the loss occurred and, the wheels started to turn. As far as going forward, I'm compiling a list right now of viable candidates. Looking to at least one thing is making sure, that they can answer the question, why Cal? Why would you want to come back to Cal? Or why would you like to come to Cal? Why would you like to be part of what we're doing? That'll be one of the questions that'll have to be answered. I got to, make sure they understand, what this university is about, and what it takes to be here. That's one thing I think is going to be really, really important. I think that, the other things that I'm working on right now too is going to put together a committee. I'm looking for some alums, former players, students, former students that is, that are donors that have a stake in what we're doing, and then some faculty members and some representatives from the athletic department. Haven't decided if I'm going to do just a committee of players or if I'm going to have the candidates when they come in get an opportunity to speak to the entire team. I think it's important that they have a voice in this as well, because this candidate, whoever it is, becomes the head coach, is going to lead these young men, and so these young men deserve to have a say in this as well.
Ron, in this era of college football, there's dates that complicate decisions like this. You've got an early signing day. It got bumped up to right after the season, which seems crazy to me. And then you've got the portal deadlines. You've got all these considerations. How does that impact the timing of this decision?
Well, to me, it's about making a clear decision, and making a bold move forward. And that's what we're going to phrase it as, is that we're looking to build on this, to take it another step. We're at a certain point which we feel good about, but we also want to be able to take another step. And so that's what we're aiming for. Again, really do appreciate everything that Justin had done getting us to this point. And, we have a direction that we want to take now.
Is it out of the question to have a decision made before high school signing day on December 3rd to 5th?
Not necessarily, but, a lot of the candidates I've got several names down already, and I've already pulled some bios and have gotten some bios or asked for some bios and resumes. A good number of them are tied to teams that will be going to bowls, but several of them also tied to teams that are still in the hunt to be in the CFP. So this is a process that's going to have to be very fluid and very flexible.
Ron, last week you said you were confident that you were going to be able to keep Jaron Chiave, Sangapulatelli.
Yep.
How does this affect that, if at all?
Well, I think the big thing and the key about it is the understanding that what we're doing is best interest of the university. Secondly, knowing who he is and what he means to us, there's going to be a lot of thought in who's next and what that staff's going to look like as well. And part of it will be about his growth and development as a football player and as a student athlete. So we're not, this is still very, very important. Making sure he understands that we are looking in his best interest as well, not just the universities or the football programs, but also we've got him in mind as we do his teammates. I mean, everything we're doing, we feel is to see if we can make sure these guys continue to be developed as student athletes.
Ron, you talked about obviously the game Saturday being a big part of it. If you guys had won on Saturday, would Justin be the coach going forward through next year, do you think? Or was it more than just...
I'd say that's what we're looking for. That's exactly what we're looking for, because we're looking for the opportunity to have a winning record, which that would have ensured. And then going into a bowl game, it would have given us a higher profile bowl game probably. And, and I think that's one of the things that's real important. And going forward is that it's about winning. And we're trying to take incremental steps. The one hard thing really is for me, July 2nd is when I got the opportunity to truly step in and start getting involved. And now things are kind of moving and coming to fruition. So we're starting to put things together. And it would have been a good opportunity. But there was weight on the value of the big game.
Ron, you talked about your conversation with the chancellor and the alignment you guys have had. Can you walk us through what was about it? Was it simply you saying, all right, this is the decision, or how much was it more of a sign-off versus a back and forth?
No, it was a very good conversation and discussion. He wanted to make sure that I'd been very thoughtful about what I was doing, that everything was considered or things that needed to be considered were weighed. So we had a good conversation, good discussion. And, at the end of the day, when I gave the recommendation, he agreed. And but like I said, this was not something that was done very flippantly. This was done with some serious conversation, some serious intent, knowing what was at stake. And again, it's something that I really do appreciate him being aligned with me in this.
And then understandably, you talked about the role the student athletes play in all this. How did they take the news, and how have you seen them respond?
They took it hard. They really did. Again, as I said, Coach is a guy of high quality character, and the players do most certainly have, sentiments towards him. A lot of these guys he believed in, gave them opportunities when other people didn't. Other guys he stuck by, even through some very hard times, difficult times. And again, those are some of the characteristics we're going to be looking for in our next head coach.
Ron, I know you sort of just answered this, but when you addressed the players after the Justin news, did any of them come up to you and say, this is what we want more of or less of in the next head coach?
I've had a couple conversations. I've also talked to a couple about getting together with me and answering those questions and having those questions asked. So it's going to be interesting in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we're just trying to right now stay focused on getting prepared for SMU. And at some point, I'll get the opportunity to spend a little bit more time with these guys. And whenever we do start bringing in candidates, they will get opportunities to get up and ask questions. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's just going to be a committee or if it's going to be the entire team.
Would the next head coach have to have head coaching experience? Not
necessarily. Again, what we are looking for most certainly is the best fit. We're looking for somebody we truly do believe that is a guy that can take us to the direction we want to go and accomplish what we're looking to accomplish.
Well, you've talked about the story, how you became the GM, that Chancellor had asked you to list some characteristics, and then he finally said, well, you're the guy I want. Is there any chance you would go through this process and you've been a head coach, you know, Cal, that you could go from GM to head coach?
I don't think so. I think what I'm doing right now is trying to create the opportunity to make this as attractive a job as possible. I'm trying to be as supportive as I can to bring as many resources as we can to this. situation, and that's the big thing that we've been getting is we've been getting a lot of positive responses the last few weeks. And it's having gotten the opportunity to engage, and I think that's what my mission is to try and create that and keep the engagement coming for whoever's next, and try and be as supportive as I can.
Ron, just to be clear on the timing with the signing day coming up, it sounds like you're saying you want to take your time and get the right guy as quickly as you can and not necessarily fold that into a signing day deadline.
Correct. What we want to be is very, very thorough, very thoughtful in the direction we want to take this team. And a lot of it is hinging on who the next head coach is. So we've got to be very thorough with this. I'm not quite sure how it would work if it is one of the coaches that is involved in the CFP, but I most certainly will be involved in all those other aspects of trying to put it together, whether it's finishing the high school recruiting, getting ready for the portal, and putting together the coaching staff. So these are all things that I'll be working on. And again, as we go through this search, like I said, I'm looking to put a committee of folks together to help me with this process.
If I could ask you a quick follow-up, how did you decide on Nick Rolovich as the interim coach?
Well, one of the things that I've always believed in, and it's something that when this happened to me in Carolina, one of the things I discussed with David Tepper, the owner, was, you want to keep your coordinators working on their specific job, because if you move one person, you got to move somebody else, and then somebody else has got to move. Let's keep those guys working. Coach Rolovich has had head coaching tenures and has been very successful with them. He's been a guy that's connected very well with our players, and I felt that this is probably the best opportunity and the best decision. That way, Coach can our two coordinators can focus on preparing and getting ready for the game. And Coach Rolo, who's again has this experience, could be somebody who could step in and continue to stay very steady with the ship.
Will you guys be using a search firm to assist in this, or will just be you and the committee?
No, I've got enough contacts throughout the coaching world to get a list, and I've already got a list of 14, and I'm going to probably pare that down to about 10. I'll probably get a few more, but I'll pare it down probably to about 10, and then I'll take those names to the committee, and then we'll go from there.
As you talk about compiling your list, how much are you considering making an internal hire?
Well, we do have some pretty good internal candidates, guys that both do have coaching experience in both Harzan and Coach Rolovich, and they are guys that I do have on this long list right now. But where we go from there, like I said, I'm going to get together with the committee and we'll thin it down to where it's a manageable number, and then we'll start the process.
Hi. You've mentioned that, and you've put an emphasis on having a winning record and wanting that for this program. How do you feel that this has shaken up the team this week going into your last game that really has the possibility for that?
Well, I think what it does is finds out about the character and poise of all of our players as well. I mean, adversity hits and it strikes at any time. How you handle it really also talks a little bit about who you are. So this is an opportunity for us also to gauge where we are in terms of that with our players and our coaches as well, and our staff for that matter. This is an important time for us, and we've got to be able to do things. And we just can't wait. I mean, I could have sat back and waited till the end. That would have been the easy thing. This is hard, what we're doing. It's very, very hard. And it's hard on Justin. It's hard on the players. It's hard on the staff, the coaches, everybody, because there's a big question mark for all of us. And it's hard on me. So what I did thoughtfully, also trying to figure out where we're going to go, who we're going to be next year. And that's important. We've got to have good answers. So what we'll get from what we see is where we need to go. If we see the type of performance I hope to get, that could be an outstanding thing and show us just the character and toughness of a lot of our guys. Some guys may not react properly. They may not react the way we hope they would, but we're going to find out.
Well, I believe it was Marshall last season had to back out of its bowl game because it didn't have enough players and the coaching staff was in flux. I believe the portal is different this year, but are you convinced that you'll still be able to play in a bowl game no matter what happens over the next couple of weeks?
I'd like to believe so. I mean, we've got a number of guys that are nicked up they're all trying to get back out on the football field right now. So that's a very promising thing. Plus, we'll have time before the before we play in the bowl game. So we'd expect guys that are nicked up be able to be 100% for that, and that would be really beneficial for us.
Ron, with Rolovich in as the interim back here in the back, with Rolovich in as the interim so far this season, and he also being a candidate in that pool that you have currently, what are you hoping to see from the rest of this season from him as interim, as far as the reception of the team, as him in that spot, but then also success for this team so far this season?
Well, I like the idea of getting a chance to see how the players react and how they handle this situation. I think Coach Rolovich is very aware of that. For him, it's doing the job and doing some very positive things for us. He is a guy that hopefully going forward, he is still part of this program. He's somebody that I've got a chance to watch and really appreciate the way he does things.
We'll go to Joaquin Ruiz, who's on the phone for you, right in front of you there, Ron. Joaquin, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about going into SMU. Obviously a tough team. You still have to, kind of dedicate so much time to that with everything going on. I know you said you'll talk to the guys when you can, but just the state of the team right now. You said you're going to test their character, but what do you think right now in this moment? Like, how has the team responded to just everything that's transpired?
I'd like to believe they responded the way that you would expect young men to. They took it very hard. They had a rough day yesterday as well. Today you start seeing them come out of it. I thought it was very businesslike, which is a plus. I thought the way Coach Rolovich and the coaches handled it is exactly what we're hoping, because these guys will come out of this. And, we expect them to come out and give their best effort is what we're hoping to see. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.